So, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I made a video, but I'm finally back. The hiatus is over, and today we are reacting to a video by a YouTuber called Grant Trudeau. The video is titled "The Buy Now Pay Later Trap." Of course, this is talking about how a lot of people have been using Klarna and basically using Klarna as their personal bank account and stuff like that. So let's get into it. This should be an interesting one. I've held off watching this for a really long time so that I could react to it for the first time on the channel. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Why is Pay in 4 so addictive?
I literally once financed a bottle of body wash.
You know what? I'm gonna Afterpay this. It's gonna make me feel less guilty to pay it in 4 installments of $81 or whatever.
That's like having a black American Express to me. I can use it anywhere, anytime I get ready.
I mean, that's not how it works, right? I think a lot of people think that Klarna is like free money. The reason why people feel this way is normally with a credit card, you go through a lot of credit approvals and that will determine like your credit limit and all these kind of things. Your credit score also determines that, your credit history. And with Klarna, for some weird reason, you can just buy stuff on Klarna that even sometimes you have no business affording. And if they actually did a proper credit check, they would never allow you to pay for that through Klarna because you just can't afford it, right? So because it's easy to buy stuff through Klarna, a lot of people are doing it, seeing it as free money. But the problem is that, yes, you could not pay Klarna back. You could literally just give Klarna a different bank account to the one you use and it's trying to charge and it's not successful. However, what Klarna does do is it gets put on your credit report. So if you don't pay back Klarna, I think after like a few missed payments, it goes on your credit report and then that's on your credit file for a very long time. And that will affect your ability to get a mortgage in the future, to do, get credit cards in the future, to get any sort of loan. So it's very short-term thinking. I understand if you're using Klarna that way out of necessity because you were buying groceries, but anything that's not necessary, I think is really stupid to pay with Klarna when you can't afford it and you have no intentions to pay it back. Like if you're buying a new phone, but your old phone is working fine, you just wanted a new phone, I think that's really stupid. So unless it's like a necessity, that's the only time I can understand people doing that through Klarna because it's out of necessity. But anything else, I just think is really stupid, messing up your financial future like that just because of some short-term thinking and based on goods that really aren't that important. They don't improve your life that much. But yeah, let's watch on.
Using Klarna to pay for these Chris Brown tickets.
Exactly. So paying for Chris Brown tickets. Once again, using credit is not bad. I mean, I use credit, I have a credit card, so long as you can afford to actually pay it back and you're not paying interest. So if someone is using Klarna to pay for Chris Brown tickets because they want to manage their money better, but they know full well that they can afford it, I don't see any issue with that. The big issue for me is when you're not going to pay it back at the end of the month and a Chris Brown concert is not a necessity at all. Like you can live without going to a Chris Brown concert. To me, that's very stupid.
Look at this chart right here. This shows the total non-housing consumer debt in America over the last 10 years. And in 2024, Americans collectively owe more than $5 trillion, which is enough to pay for every NFL, NBA, and MLB team 10 times over. And to make matters worse, we are constantly surrounded by psychological tricks and hidden fees to drive us further and further into debt. The worst of these tricks, the buy now, pay later programs that have been designed to take advantage of young adults.
So when you buy a $100 pair of shoes and you only have to pay $25 that day, and then the pair of shoes show up at my apartment 3 days later, the shoes are $25. Why do I care if in 2 months I have to pay another $25? I don't know.
You should care because it accumulates. So, okay, cool. If you buy your shoe for $25, but it's actually a $200 shoe and you have to pay it in 8 installments, if that's how you treat everything, you're one job away from like having financial ruin. If you're like, okay, I just got my shoes on Klarna, so I'm going to get my food on Klarna and I'm going to get my bag on Klarna and I'm going to get my groceries on Klarna. It'll just get to the point where you have a monthly payment that looks like a mortgage for Klarna. Like your monthly payment would be like $2,000, $3,000 because everything you're paying through Klarna. So it matters because it accumulates very quickly.
Me 2 months from now, She can deal with that.
Buy Now, Pay Later is a short-term financing option that is offered by companies like Affirm, Klarna, or Afterpay. You'll typically see these options pop up on e-commerce stores, offering you the ability to buy what you want today while deferring your payment over a certain number of installments. So if you're looking to buy a new suitcase for a trip you have coming up and it's going to cost you $300, instead of paying that all today, you could buy the suitcase today and then split the $300 across 4 equal interest-free payments. And you might think, great, interest-free. I can just sign up for these payments and then worry about paying it sometime later down the road. But it's not quite that simple. These Buy Now, Pay Later programs aren't necessarily groundbreaking financial technology. In fact, Buy Now, Pay Later programs are kind of a newer, modernized version of the old school layaway programs that you would see at stores like Kmart and Sears. These layaway programs allowed you to place a deposit on an item like a dishwasher, for example. And then the store would reserve that dishwasher for you to collect once you had paid off the dishwasher through their installment plan. But these layaway programs kind of fell off throughout much of the mid-20th century, mainly due to the introduction of credit cards and revolving lines of credit. Instead of using a layaway program and waiting to collect their item, people could just swipe a credit card, get their item today, and then worry about paying off that over the next couple months or years. The only problem is that a credit card will incur interest. People realize that if they didn't pay their credit card down on time, they would end up owing more than they initially spent.
And that interest is nasty. That interest is disgusting. Because imagine you buy something for $200, but your interest rate, your APRs, because some of those credit cards are insane. Like, especially if you're a younger person, the APRs could be like 30%, something insane like that. And if you're not paying it back in full, by the end of when you finally pay off your credit card debt, that $200 item could have cost you $600. It's insane.
The item. So along came the modern marvel that is Buy Now, Pay Later, which gave you the best of both worlds. Get your product today, pay it off over a longer period of time, all while doing it interest-free. And that idea began hooking people in, because Buy Now, Pay Later has seen some explosive growth over the last 5 years, going from $2 billion in transaction volume in 2019 to $24.2 billion in 2021, and it's projected to reach as high as $122 billion in 2025. But this explosion wasn't just happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of 3 major cultural shifts that we've been seeing. First is the financialization of everything, meaning we've moved from a completely cash-based society to a society in which we look at even a $5 coffee as an opportunity to finance the transaction. Second, we have the rise of social media driven consumption. As influencers showcase luxury lifestyle.
Sorry, I'm going to stop pausing because I want him to make his point. But when he said the coffee thing, I was like, I think this Buy Now, Pay Later thing has just created, because I'm Gen Z, for people that don't know, I think our generation now, my generation at least, we think that we can afford things that we can't, because there's an option to pay monthly for everything now. So we kind of have this like warped sense of things we can actually afford. It's really bad.
And products, Buy Now, Pay Later allows the average consumer the ability to experience those same things without actually incurring the cost today. And third, we have the post-pandemic spending boom, which has consumers using Buy Now, Pay Later as a form of revenge spending or buying things they feel like they missed out on during the pandemic. Combine all of that with a declining financial literacy among most young adults, and you have the perfect storm to make Buy Now, Pay Later explode as a new mentality. But why is this even a problem? If they're not charging interest, how can they actually be taking advantage of me as a consumer? To answer that question, we first need to look at the differences between Buy Now, Pay Later programs and traditional credit cards. Because on the outside, they're basically the same thing. Both financial devices allow you to buy something today that you might not necessarily be able to afford or be willing to put cash down today for. But a credit card usually involves some sort of approval process, application, review, and a credit.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I said earlier about the like approval and credit check. Yeah. Exactly.
Hit. Meanwhile, Buy Now, Pay Later programs offer an almost instantaneous approval for your purchase in the moment. Additionally, as we discussed, credit cards can accrue interest if not paid off by the end of the month. And that rate can be at crazy high rates, usually around 19 to 23%. On top of that, if you're late with your payment or you miss a payment, credit card companies can also add on late payment fees that just end up waterfalling you into insane amounts of credit card debt off of fairly simple purchases to begin with. And on the other hand, Buy Now, Pay Later offers 0% interest, which sounds great, but that all depends on if you actually pay your payments on time. If you don't, you'll be subject to late payment fees that can range anywhere from $2 to $15 per payment and going all the way up to 25% of the total value of the purchase you made initially. And with all that said,
25% of the value of the purchase is insane. And that's the thing, like everything with these companies has a catch. They're not stupid. I don't know why people think like you can just not pay it back and like it just goes away. Like, haha, I didn't pay it back. I've seen people literally boasting about, I didn't pay it back. And I'm just thinking, you're literally like 24, 25 now. You're not thinking about a mortgage. But when you think about a mortgage, or you want to even have like a phone bill, and then you just keep getting rejected, now you have to pay, you can't have a phone bill, like a monthly phone bill, because of how bad your credit is, and because you have this crazy payment on your credit file. So now you have to do pay as you go, and now you're paying way more money than you should be. It's just so dumb. It's so silly. Just live within your means. That's the best way to go.
Buy now, pay later still might sound like a perfectly good alternative to credit cards, which is exactly what they want you to think. Because buy now, pay later programs weren't necessarily designed to help the consumer like you or me. They were designed for stores and brands that want to sell more through their website or in their stores. After all, that's why brands are willing to pay 2 to 3% more for their transaction fees to use a buy now, pay later program versus a traditional credit card processor. To give you an example, let's look at a $100 purchase. If you bought a $100 item using a normal credit card on their site, the brand was typically going to incur about a $2.50 charge to process that payment. And on the other hand, if you were to use a buy now, pay later program, that transaction fee that the brand has to pay goes from $2.50 to about $5. But the merchant fees are just the beginning when it comes to buy now, pay later. So let's look at how these companies actually make money beyond just charging the brand that hosts them on their website. First, like we just discussed, they're going to collect that merchant fee, which is anywhere from 4 to 6% of the transaction price. Second, they profit from late fees, like we talked about earlier, which has turned out to be a pretty substantial revenue source for companies.
Yes, because they know that people can't afford what they're buying, so they've probably baked it into their revenue splits that, yeah, we're going to make this much from late payment fees. That's crazy.
Companies like Affirm and Klarna, because 1 in every 3 users of these buy now, pay later programs actually ends up missing a payment at least.
1 in every 3. Oh my gosh. 1 in every 3 is insane. That's diabolical.
Least once. And third, every purchase that is made reveals something about you or your shopping habits, and these companies have realized that that is very valuable information for other brands. So they actually harvest a lot of the data from your checkout pages and then sell it to other brands that can then use it in their marketing or in their ad targeting. And finally, they benefit from the sheer volume of loans being opened up by packaging yours and everybody else's debt together and selling it to larger financial institutions. They can make money even when you pay on time. In other words, they've created a system where they win no matter what happens to you financially. So now let's look at buying an iPhone for $1,000. When you reach the checkout page, you have 3 options. Number 1, pay the full $1,000 up front. This is the simplest, cleanest, and easiest way to get out of the checkout scotch-free. Option 2, you could use a credit card with the typical 22% APR to purchase the phone. And if you only made the minimum payments, you would end up paying about $1,480 over the course of 5 years, with $480 of that being the interest alone. And option number 3 is you could use Afterpay's 4-payment installment plan, where you pay $250 today and then $250 every 2 weeks until the plan is paid off.
Wait, do you guys not have more options in the US? In the UK, you can like finance the phone basically. So you can pay like £70 every month for 2 years. That's an option too. That's interesting.
Which sounds like the best deal to you? You see, brands have mastered psychological manipulation throughout their website, but specifically on the last hurdle, which is the checkout page. And they do this through 4 key tricks. First, they exploit what psychologists call the pain of paying. By splitting the cost over a longer period of time, your brain actually registers less financial pain than paying the full amount up front. Second, they trigger what is called the temporal discounting, which is our tendency to value immediate rewards more than future benefits, or otherwise known as instant gratification. Pay just $25 today and it's yours sounds a lot better than waiting and saving up for it. Third, they will create artificial urgency by simulating limited time offers in the checkout page. And finally, they use colors and shapes to direct your eye exactly where they want you to be looking. Have you ever noticed that the buy now, pay later button is often highlighted in a brighter color, and it's sometimes even pre-selected when you reach the checkout page?
So this is something my mum taught me, right? Because my mum and we always talk about like financial things, and she always puts me on game. So she told me that every company that offers like car finance, or, you know, people that want you to buy stuff monthly, they want you to buy stuff monthly over cash because they make more money from you over the long term. So they're actually not interested in you having the money to buy it cash, and they'll always push you into buying it monthly. Now, the reason for that is, First of all, just the interest alone. If you buy something in cash, you're not paying any interest. But if you get a car loan or you finance your car, obviously you're paying like a certain percentage of APR. So they're making extra money on top of the value of the car, of course. And then at the end of it, you're probably not going to be able to afford the balloon payment. So they'll get it back and sell it at a profit. Or if you end up buying it, like paying for the balloon payment at the end, if it's like a PCP, then you would end up spending more money than the actual value of the car, and they've made a profit that way. And because you're in a contract with them, essentially, when you're paying monthly, they can then start pushing things to you and make even more money from you. Like they'll just call you randomly for an extra $5. You can have certain servicing, and it won't be necessary, but they'll say that. Even when I bought a laptop that I was paying for monthly, they'll just call me randomly and be like, for an extra $5, we can do like, you know, new services every 6 months. And then when I owned the laptop, I didn't need to service it once. It's just, they sell you all these like weird things, and it just add on for an extra $5 a month, for an extra $10 a month. So that's how they really get you. That's why all the way these websites are designed, like he's saying, is to push your eye to the pay monthly options, not the cash option.
These aren't accidents. These are specific design decisions to short circuit your brain to making a financial decision more on an impulse than with rational thinking. Instead of thinking about a $100 purchase rationally and over a longer period of time, they'd rather have you just click the pay $25 now and worry about it later on. And again, this isn't necessarily a bad deal because people are always looking for interest-free ways of purchasing things so that their money can go and earn them more money while they're paying off the other thing that they purchased.
But that's if they're using it that way. Unfortunately, a lot of people are just buying concert tickets that they can't afford and they have no intention of paying back, and that's the issue. But there's a way to use credit in a very smart way, and loads of people credit cards are really good because credit cards have so many benefits. You can get points on your credit card and stuff, so long as you can afford to pay the payments back. The problem is so many people don't live within their means. We're in a social media era. People want to live a life on social media that isn't even real. A lot of people aspire to influencers that a lot of stuff that they show on their social media pages, they don't even own. So it's all a disaster, to be honest.
But to do so requires some financial education or experience. And sadly, most Americans are completely undereducated when it comes to financial literacy. So the instant gratification syndrome kicks in and they buy practically everything with buy now, pay later, with no real concern that they will in fact have to pay that off at some point. All they're worried about is the price that they will pay today, which is exactly how you end up with this.
I've done groceries. I've done all kinds of crap on Affirm and Klarna, but
I literally said, because bear in mind, guys, I haven't watched this video, like I said earlier. I literally said earlier that when you get in that habit of buying things on Afterpay or Klarna that you can't afford, it adds up. The payments accumulate, and it might be like, oh, it's just $25. Beep. It's just $100. Beep. It's just $75. Beep. And then before you know it, you have a mortgage payment that you have to pay back every month on Klarna and stuff. It adds up so fast. Trust me, it adds up so quickly.
Adds up, and then you are in a chokehold. And in some ways, it is worse than having credit card payments. It's crazy.
Because buy now, pay later is so easy to do, people are starting to use it on more and more occasions where it's really not meant to be used. Instead of just using it on a big purchase like a new fridge or a TV, they're starting to use it on smaller things and truly financing items that have no business being financed. A crazy story that we recently saw is that Klarna is now on DoorDash, which allows you to finance your $15 burrito over 4 payments of...
If you don't have a lot of money, you should be cooking your food. You should not be buying DoorDash. Like, if you don't have a lot of money, cook your food. It's so much cheaper. It's unbelievable. If you're in a position where you're buying DoorDash on Klarna, you just shouldn't be. Delete the DoorDash app from your phone.
$375 instead of paying the full $15 up front. Again, not a necessarily terrible thing when looked at in a vacuum, but when you expand this to consider that someone who's financing a burrito is also probably financing a lot of other things, that's when the real problem starts to arise. Bad spending habits like this lead to what we call loan stacking. Pretty much what it sounds like, taking out loan after loan after loan and stacking them on top of each other. And because buy now, pay later programs make it so easy to do so, most consumers don't even realize how much debt they're actually accruing. In fact, in 2022, 63% of buy now, pay later borrowers had more than one loan going at one time. And this is where it gets really scary. Because these programs are designed to offer credit with little to no approval process, it's almost like they're targeting people that don't know how to manage their money. All they see is, oh, I can buy this $1,000 thing for $250 today, and they just click buy. When in reality, over 69% of buy now, pay later users are already in debt on another credit card. And 28% of buy now, pay later borrowers are between the ages of 18 and 24 years old. Most of these people don't even understand the concept of how a credit card works, and by giving them this buy now, pay later option, it's almost like they have this unlimited stream of money that never needs to actually be paid off. Again, don't get me wrong, there are definitely some advantages to the system if you know how to play it, but the vast majority of people using the system are not taking advantage of it. They are just getting taken advantage of. So what do you do? As a consumer, should I completely stay away from buy now, pay later, or are there some circumstances where it makes sense? And
there's some circumstances that make sense. Like I have one thing on a sort of buy now, pay later thing, like, or Afterpay, whatever you call it. It's on Klarna. So I bought a watch that is interest free and I pay £70 monthly for it, and that's the only thing I have on Klarna or any sort of Afterpay service, or that's the only thing, and I'm going to keep it that way. And even after the watch, because it's a big, like he said, for me, if I'm making a big purchase, then I won't just put all my money into it, because if it's interest free, I'll buy something that I know I can handle the monthly payments, which is why with big purchases, I keep it to one at a time. I never do it more than one, so it doesn't get out of hand. And I really feel sorry for people that fall into the trap where they buy all these different things, and like you said, it's loan stacking, and then before you know it, you're paying $3,000 monthly. And you're most likely, if you're buying all of that stuff with Afterpay, it's very likely you're going to default on all of those loans, and then you're going to accrue late payment fees for all of those transactions. And before you know it, that $3,000 payment has gone to $4,000, and then you're just financially ruined after that. So it's crazy.
To answer that question, the most important piece of advice I can give you is to never spend more than you currently have, whether that be through a credit card or a buy now, pay later option. If you don't have the cash in your bank, don't spend it. And that is by far the easiest way that you can keep yourself out of credit card debt. And if you feel confident in your financial abilities, feel free to use a credit card or a buy now, pay later option to earn more interest on your cash while it's sitting in your account versus just spending it immediately. But if you don't feel confident about this, treat your credit cards in a buy now, pay later program as if it's hooked directly up to your checking account. If you spend $100, that's $100 coming directly out of your account. Another tip I have is to avoid stacking these loans, because that is where things can get very messy very quickly. If you start financing weekly expenses like gas, groceries, or that Friday night Chipotle bowl, it becomes a slippery slope, because it is 100 times easier to get into debt than it is to get out of debt. But there you have it, the truth about buy now, pay later. These companies spend millions of dollars on psychological research to get you to spend more than you can actually afford. But now you know a little bit more about how to protect yourself. And if you like this video, make sure to check out this video that covers the business of Formula One and
Okay, that was a really, really good video. I'm going to check out some more Grant Trudeau videos for sure, because that was really good. And I think that information was really good for people to listen to and learn from. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like the video. I'm a very small channel, so every like helps and it matters. And subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this. I mainly talk about politics and finance and the state of the economy and those kind of things. So definitely tune in. We talk a lot about money and finances and economy on this channel. So yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.